Hi, Susan.
Hi, Serge.
So you're a longtime meditator and Zen practitioner.
hmm
And today we're going to be talking about mindfulness within a broader context.
hmm So let me just first start. The broader context we're talking about is Buddhism, but I want to have caveats here. I'm a Westerner.
Mm-hmm.
I practice in the Zen tradition, which is the tradition of how Buddhism, when it landed in Japan, where it went, but Zen Buddhism as it is practiced by well, I'm connected with something called the San Francisco Zen Center, which is their particular flavor of Japanese Zen as it is taught in America with it.
Yeah. And so you're not making pronouncements in general,
Not
but
a,
you're very careful to point out the specifics and the roots of your experience.
right, right. And well, what I'm wanting to emphasize is that mindfulness is an incredible skill, the ability to be present to this moment and to work on that as something one can develop this skill to be present, to realize when you're going off on some tangent in your head and you're not right here now.
Mm-hmm.
That is a part of the Buddhist practice in this society now, in Western society in America. In many situations, that skill, which is a great skill, has been lifted out of the context and used by a lot of people. Great. But some people think that's what it is. That's all that this whole thing is about. Well, it's just mindfulness. Well, it's not just mindfulness. It's
Yeah.
embedded. Is that
So,
making any sense?
so what I'm hearing you say is that just as we were talking about roots, there is a context, and the whole context is a Buddhist approach to the world that
Mhm.
includes meditation, mindfulness meditation as one of its aspects.
Right. Or that is the way one practices this whole within this context. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So that felt important to me to share with you.
yeah. And so
That,
that the goal of the Buddhist approach is not just the practice of mindfulness
no,
meditation,
no.
but mindfulness meditation is one aspect of it. When we transplant mindfulness meditation out of this context, we lose track
Yes, we
of the
can.
rest.
Right. I mean, one could be very mindful and rob a bank. I mean, but even if we don't even think in that way, your intention is positive. There's still something to be learned from the this larger context.
Yeah.
Right.
Great, great.
And that is how why I reacted to the word solitary in that discussion we had about meditation, because I
Mm-hmm.
thought uh, sometimes people think of mindfulness as a solitary pursuit, and one can. I mean, but that's not what is meant in the Buddhist tradition. So,
Right. And so the context of the discussion you mentioned was to talk about mindfulness as a solitary practice because you're alone as you
right,
try to be mindful. But
right.
the context is not that. It's not the individual alone. It's actually that whole being in the context of a Buddhist approach
hmm
to being a human in the world.
hmm So there's something called the Four Noble Truths,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to talk about that. But before I do that, I'm going to say something that's four vows that relate to these four noble truths. I'm just going to say them because they're beautiful
Okay.
words. Um, and so that will give you the flavor of where I'm coming from. When I'm in my my Buddhist Sangha or group, we say these words. Okay.
And so what I'm hearing is that the truth, the Four Noble Truths, are statements about the world as it is, or as you see
Right.
it. But the vows are intentions of engagement. So there is kind of an intentionality that is expressed. It's not something that is objective, but is a commitment.
Right. And they're connected to the vows. So I'm going to the truth. So I'm going to say it. So
Mm-hmm.
the first is beings are numberless.
Mm-hmm. Beings are numberless.
I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them.
Mm-hmm.
Dharma gates, the teachings, Dharma gates are boundless.
Mm-hmm.
I vow to enter them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it.
Mm.
So this is very far reaching. These statements are they have a lot of evocative things going on here.
Yeah, but the very evocative, and I think that just these four vows already put mindfulness in a context of being very engaged with the world.
Everything.
We're talking about not just entering the gates of Dharma personally, but we're talking about freeing the other beings. So we're talking about a sense of engagement with the world.
Exactly. That's right. Engagement with the world and interconnectedness with the world, directly interconnected.
Yeah.
And so if you are in this Sangha, this group, or whenever you sit down to meditate, you are in this context.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. So if you sit down to meditate, whether or not you actually say the vows before meditating on your own, there is a reminder as you sit that this is a context of finding yourself within that context of engagement.
Right. Um, so, well, I'm going to show you something. I won't say a lot about this, but this is something I wear when I sit. That it's a whole thing in itself that has to do with wearing the Buddha's robes. But what I want to show you is what it says inside. Can you see this?
Yeah, if you make it a little higher. Uh,
Okay,
so when one wave moves,
right,
thousands of waves follow.
exactly. I wear this, and this is the idea. When one wave moves, thousands of waves follow. I'm interconnected with it all, and any moment I can't not be connected, but it's got a lot that one can think about in that sentence. And this particular sentence was given to me when I received this particular teaching, because my teacher knows I love water. So she gave me this. So everyone has a different thing in there. Everyone who has this has a completely different thing written in it that's
Mm-hmm.
connecting just to them. So it's not like I'm a numberless, nameless being. I'm recognized as a unique expression of all this, but I'm connected, interconnected.
I'm just kind of want to invite you to say again the phrase, when one wave moves, thousands of waves move, just
Follow.
to
When
follow.
one wave moves, thousands of waves follow.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have no idea where it's all going, but it's
Mm-hmm.
vast. It's quite a vast context, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite vast, really. Yeah, you are a wave, you're part of this ocean, you're affecting everything in some way. Who knows? But it's kind of large, this context.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to convey here.
Yeah, yeah. So the opposite of being solitary, all alone, isolated, is being part of the ocean, not part of the ocean as a passive drop, but
Right.
as a wave that actually has an impact on
Exactly.
all the other waves.
Good. You're good. Great listening. Love it. So great. See,
Hmm.
we're waving right now.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you for your listening. And so, okay, we'll go back to the Four Noble Truths and how they connect
Yeah.
to those vows, if you would. Okay, so I'm reading from, The Lion's Roar. There was a little piece here in this latest issue. It says that the first noble truth is that we're all suffering. Everyone suffers. Life is suffering. That's the first noble truth. Life is suffering.
Hmm.
That's why beings need to be freed. Beings are noble or sin. We want to free
Yeah.
them. The second is, what are the causes of this suffering? And the basic cause of our suffering in this context is that we are all we are thirsting for permanence. We want
Mhm.
everything to be the way it is.
Yeah.
we just we don't want we want to hold on to the good stuff. We don't want to get old.
Yeah. And your
We
body language, it just says it all because you have your hands like ready to grasp,
yeah,
to
grab
grip, hold on to.
right,
That's like, I need to.
right. That's the second tr- noble truth.
Mm-hmm.
The third noble truth is that there's a way through.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth is what's called the way through is the Buddha's eight. There's a way through. Dharma gates are boundless. There are opportunities everywhere
Mm-hmm.
to open to a different way of perceiving it and holding this reality rather than clutching.
There's a lot of ways out of there.
Right. And the fourth truth is what we call the way out is what's called the Eightfold Path, the Buddha's path. Okay. And I can read you the way you can find these Dharma gates is right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right view, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. All these ways of of engaging your life
Mm-hmm.
that have to do with not grabbing, but being open to what is in this moment right now. All these different ways of doing that are what's considered the way through.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
In my Sangha, we have something, even on Zoom now, we do it. It's called work practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like 15 minutes of the hour and a half. We do work practice. It's cleaning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mindful cleaning your toilet or your bathroom, just really being open to how it is right now to take this sponge and feel it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's just an example. And Zen is very big on work practice.
Very clearly, the notion that mindfulness meditation is certainly not the only way. There's a context where there are lots of practices.
Lots of You bring mindfulness to it. You
Yeah,
bring mindfulness to cleaning, and
yeah.
you're always with everyone else.
Hmm. So, as you're saying that, I'm pausing for a moment. I really get it and feel very satisfied. But there's also a little bit of curiosity to say, is there a way to articulate a little bit more? A little more that wants to come up from this?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple things I want to say. We used to go to our Sangha met actually at our teacher's home. There was a meditation space in her basement. And when we had work practice, it was called temple cleaning. We would clean the zendo, the space.
Mhm.
Now we're on Zoom. Sometimes I'm the one that introduces the work practice. And it occurred to me that everyone's space that we're at 15 people, all of our bathrooms or kitchens are now part of this temple. we're
Mhm.
all we're still cleaning the temple, but all of our spaces are now part of this. We're all together in this. And I'd never thought of my own space as part of being connected to the whole, literally
Mm.
through you know,
That's beautiful. So what I'm hearing is that the traditional practice, the pre-COVID thing, is that the Zendo is the place where the sacred is. But now, as you each do it in your home, that sense of the temple, the sacred space, is really everywhere. It's not a special localization.
no, which it is anyway, but this was like
Yeah,
a way to.
yeah, to really come home, very powerful way. Yeah.
So in our needing to be attached to, like, don't change, we're usually coming from a place like, I'm here and I have to hold on and you're over there. We experience ourselves as separate from,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as opposed to part of a greater reality of. And
Mm-hmm.
when there's a moment when you can feel, when you can experience, that is what meditation can be very so helpful with, to find this moment where you are experiencing yourself as more of a wave in a larger ocean. You're less likely to have that need to hold on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
So that desperate grasping is I'm all alone, and that focus is on essentially poor me. In contrast, there's that sense of being part of this larger whole.
right. At moments, sometimes.
At some moments, yes, yes. So we're talking about a fleeting experience. There too, it's not a permanent.
No, it's never permanent, but it does kind of start to be part of who you are. I've gone to retreats where you were in a line with people. I mean, I had people sitting on either side of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I had an embodied sense of them, of the people really near me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know that people have had an embodied sense of me. You can feel that someone's having a hard time.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So let's stay there. We're talking about an embodied sense of them. That's not an abstraction. You're saying you can feel that somebody's having a hard time.
You can have,
Yeah.
you're sitting, but people move slightly, and you can just feel when someone's like struggling to keep it going. You just have a sense of it,
Yeah.
an embodied sense.
Yeah. 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 So just kind of simply sensing that somebody is twitching or something like that.
Yeah, you're getting their vibe. You're incorporating that into your sit. And sometimes, luckily for that moment, you're feeling a kind of a resilience. You're sending that out. That's very helpful. Like you're being present, my being present. If I can be just, I'm here, just like you sitting with me here, like you're going to convey something mirrored.
Yeah. 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 So this is the direct experience of we have an impact on each other.
Right.
And so you can have it in a conversation by noticing you have an impact on the other person with what you do. And you notice it in meditation of feeling like the way you are is going to impact others.
And also nature too, if you happen to be doing something
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
outside or connected.
Yeah. So that's a direct experience of interconnectedness.
Yes. Yes. When you can, when you're not caught in your own thing, which we always all are anyway, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then lots of practices of compassion and all of that kind of being with yourself. That's so much more I could say, and because that's where focusing can be so helpful there too.
Yeah, yeah. Since you are both a Zen practitioner and a focusing practitioner, maybe let's talk a little bit about that.
Let's go into what happens when you are doing a meditation. You're sitting, and your instruction is to either be present with whatever is, or maybe your instruction is to come back to your breath. And when thoughts or feelings come up, acknowledge them and let them go and come back to your breath.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when you can't come back to your breath. There's just too much something that I'm struggling with. Focusing is a mindfulness practice that keeps you going into something like this and then following it, as opposed to saying, here it is, let me let it go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Focusing
So
goes,
the common point is there mindful practices. In mindfulness, you let go of distractions. In focusing, you go into
yes, it
presence.
is in a mindful way. You don't get
Mhm.
swallowed into it. So it is a mindfulness practice for sure.
Yeah.
And I have found that I've needed to do that sometimes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
while I'm sitting. It's like, I'm going to do some saying hello to, or focusing or compassion to whatever this is that's here, and just open it, find it, take myself to a place with it. Then I incorporate that into a sitting time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm there, when I've gotten to some place where I can, then I let it go or move it over and become more present in that way. But I think that's how I've personally integrated it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes thoughts, feelings, you let go of it fairly quickly. But sometimes you feel that it's impossible, it's very hard to do. And so you give it the kind of attention that focusing
Yeah,
does, by following it.
right.
Then, having gone to that point, you can let go of it.
Yes, then I can, right, right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the things that strike me, what you've been saying, there's a sense of interaction, a sense of you interacting with what happens moment by moment. It's not just, I want to let go of whatever could be a distraction, but finding the right response at a given moment
Mhm.
between letting go or following for a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
Interaction in the sense of all the practices take place within a context of interaction. That's what that statement about the waves is so powerful. All of this is within the context of an intention to find a way to live with the interactions of the world.
Mhm. Absolutely. Live with the interactions of the world, and to see how you can be a positive force in the world for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So not just interactions, but be a positive force in the world.
Mhm.
Mhm.